Okay, today we're going to create your Lightroom catalog. So first and foremost, we're going to click the button to open up Adobe Lightroom Classic. If you don't have it pinned, you're going to go to the window icon and go and search for Windows Lightroom Classic. You can also just type in Lightroom in the search bar and it should bring that up if you have it downloaded. Now there are two different types of Adobe Lightroom. You have Adobe Lightroom CC and Adobe Lightroom Classic. I prefer to use Adobe Lightroom Classic. It has a lot more functionality to it and a lot more that you can do with it. So if you are opening up Lightroom for the first time, it may tell you that it cannot find an old catalog, or it might tell you that there are no catalogs for it to find. It could also tell you that the catalog that you're looking for has been damaged and it needs to be repaired. In any case, today we're going to tell it to choose a different catalog or create a catalog. So my screen may look a little different than yours. So I'm going to click on choose a different catalog. And this is likely what your screen is going to look like the first time you ever come into Adobe Lightroom Classic. So here you're going to click create a new catalog. Now, when you're creating a catalog, you want to make sure that you're saving it somewhere that's going to be usable and accessible to you. A lot of times, Adobe will try to embed your catalog into like your documents folder or your pictures folder, and it can be really difficult to find later on. What I like to do with my students is I like to have them put it on their desktop. So you're going to go to your desktop, and then generally speaking, I like to create a folder that essentially tells me what it is, right? So I've created a Lightroom folder. To create a folder, you're just going to click on New Folder, and I'm going to create a new one just so you can see the steps. And then I'm going to put Lightroom, and I'm going to put the word catalog on here too. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I don't want to save anything else into this folder except my Lightroom catalog. And I'm going to do it that way because inside the catalog folder there's going to be a lot of other files that are created that are temporary files, and I don't want to accidentally delete anything. So I'm going to create Lightroom catalog. Now, just because I've named a folder doesn't mean that I have it selected. So I'm going to double click on it to make sure that I'm in that folder and that it is on my desktop. And you can see that right here with the file folder icon, desktop, and then Lightroom catalog. Now I'm going to title my catalog. When you title a file, you don't want to include any special characters or spaces. And the reason for that is because computers don't like spaces. They don't like fancy hashtags or dollar signs or parentheses. They don't like those in the file names because it makes it more difficult for the computer to search. So we're just going to title this. So what I like to do is usually title it with the year. So I'm going to put 2024. I'm going to use an underscore, which is shift and dash at the same time. I'm going to put my name, shift dash for that underscore again, and then I'm just going to put LR catalog. That's just so that I know what the file is, the computer knows what the file is, and it's really easy for me to see. Now, if I ever need to repair or update this file, I can just add an underscore and a number or a version, and that's going to help me keep things organized, which is really, really important in the creative field. Once I have it named, I'm going to go ahead and tell it to create, and it's going to begin opening Adobe Lightroom. Now you'll also see up here in the top corner, it says 2024 underscore my name underscore LR catalog, right? So you know which catalog you're logged into when you first get in here. So if you have multiple catalogs, which is something that we do in the industry, sometimes we'll have a catalog that is specifically for a single client. Instead of having multiple collections within one catalog, we'll have different catalogs for different reasons. If you sign an NDA and you have to keep everything really secret, you might have a catalog that is just for that one client. You won't need to do that here at school. All you're going to need is your one catalog, and we're going to go through and import your images and start using Adobe Lightroom Classic. Now, before I introduce you to importing any of your images or anything like that, I'm just going to talk about this specific platform. Up here in the top corner, you'll see my name, you'll see the navigator, you'll see catalog, folders, collections, and publishing services. Down at the bottom of this left side of your screen, you'll see import and export. You'll also see down here what's called the film strip. Now, if the first time you open this, you don't see any of these things on here, it's likely because these little arrows have been clicked. So if you can't find your film strip, if you can't see anything at the top, if you can't see anything on the sides, look for those little teeny tiny arrows. Okay, they're going to be at the center on the top, the center on the side, and the center on the bottom. And those are going to open up those little menus. Now, if you hover over them, they'll appear temporarily. So if you're really just focused on the photo and you don't want any of the other panels open, this is fine. But generally speaking, this is not how you're going to use it. So you're going to open up those panels. And again, that left panel is your navigator panel. This has your catalog. So this is going to show you all the photos that you've ever imported. Right now we have 0. We haven't imported anything. It's going to show you all of the folders that are attached. So right now, again, we don't have any folders that we've imported into our catalog. And then collections. Collections is where you can create kind of like folders, but they're not folders on your desktop. They're only folders within Lightroom. So you can put the same image into multiple folders at the same time. So if you make an adjustment to that image, it's adjusted on all of them. So maybe I have a client, right? And I create a collection for each client that I have, and I'm a portrait photographer. But then maybe I also want to have a collection that shows like the best portraits that I've ever created. I might have a collection for portraits just in general for my portfolio, as well as for each specific client. We'll get into collections later. And then publish services you don't need to worry about right now, but this is where you can publish to a hard drive. So when you go to export, it'll automatically send images to a hard drive for backing up, to Adobe Stock if you're trying to sell photos through a stock website, Flickr if you're trying to update a portfolio, and you can also find more services. For school, we're not going to do this. We don't need it yet, but that's something to know that it is available for future reference. And then your import button. We'll talk about your film strip a little bit later when we get into looking through your images, but I do want to introduce over here on the right-hand side is metadata. So over here is where you're going to be able to see a lot of information about your images when we bring them in, and you can also add keywords so that you can find them later on. We'll come back to this one in another video, but I also want to show you guys the top hand toolbar. So this is where you have library, develop, we're going to ignore map, book, slideshow, and get to print. Now, if you can't see all of these, you'll probably see 2 little arrows at the top that are pointing to the side. And you'll click on those 2 little arrows. The ones you want to pay attention to are library, develop, and print. Those are the 3 that we're going to use the most in our classes.